Eh, you get the freaking point.
Muramasa, the Demon Blade, can be classed as a few types of games out there. Of course, many will argue that it's just an adventure game with some stats, while others say it's just a Castle Metroid clone pure through and through. Whatever you call it, it does not matter, haha. Mirochimi, the princess of the Nakuramari, which is possessed by a demon, and the Karikaso, renegade ninja with no memory of his past, pretty much reminds me of a lot of cliche Japanese storylines that are always told through a lot of games. It's pretty cliche either way. The storyline is set up into two different segments for two different characters, the renegade ninja and obviously the princess. These characters of course have their own special ways of course obviously handling things throughout their scenarios. Either way, they're both bitter and cold due to the fact that their persona when they're fighting. When the princess possesses the character is sort of a neutral asshole, so to speak. And obviously the renegade ninja has is, of course, bitterness. But I'm not gonna ruin too much for you guys. Alright, so the controls in this game are pretty good too as well. If you were to label this game, think of Castlevania Symphony of the Night and slap down some beautiful artwork and you're good to go. Attacking in this game, obviously, again, it's down to two buttons, just about. Swapping swords and then they're damaged by pressing R on your GameCube pad and Z on your nunchuck. Also, the gameplay is acceptable for this game by leaving the gamer with a, well, wide selection of ways to play this game. You have, of course, you can swap between items on the fly as well as swap out your three swords. You're limited to. Of course, though, each sword gives you bonuses as well as, obviously, effects. So each sword has its own unique ability as well as each other sword has an upgrade to that previous setup. This game has a lot to it that a lot of out of the physical eye you cannot really see at first. But however, diving into this game, I of course found myself really loving the forge system in this, which of course is linked hugely to the swords collecting. It's all done by obviously just pausing the game and going into the forge. You can also cook, which of course cooking gives you some bonus effects for your character, as well as making some quick items, of course, to consume while you're in the mix of battle. Leaving this game, of course, run and chew kind of thing. Pardon the pun. Overall, I felt like the controls and also the effect of combat and all that was pretty simplistic. You can hold down the A button, for an example, and just fly around by holding it down by using the directional pad on your, obviously, analog stick, on your GameCube controller, on, obviously, your classic controller, and your Wiimote nunchuck. It's really simplistic controls. Each character starts out with their own stats and sword paths. Battles in this construct a huge part of the flow and rank in the RPG element of the game, which of course obviously the casual Pasuedo would enjoy this game obviously in the easier mode for the RPG elements. If you want more of that action based and sort of more challenging flow, then obviously you go with the second normal route with this. When you trek across through a lot of the landscapes, you will take a huge part of the game where of course enemies will drop out and attack you hardcore. Clear out the enemies and score EXP, coins, and even items after each kill. Survival, skill, and quickness gives you a bonus for your soul for collection purposes. So basically you grab souls in this and of course obtain them by putting them into your soul craft, which is obviously use that for your sword in this game. And yes, you need a lot of freaking souls to make swords. Starting off, you're allowed to swap between the two difficulties on the fly by obviously going into the options. Exception to, of course, boss battles. The two modes are named Musho, which is for casual and lets you EXP like no other. And the other mode, which I enjoy like myself much as most others who are hardcore, is Shera, which offers more of a challenge and a little bit lesser EXP on the fly. So basically it puts you running and gunning. The bosses in this game are huge. When I mean huge, I mean freaking Godzilla took a crap for a week, then you see the result. Okay. Here are some of the pros of the game. The design of the characters and of course the landscapes are all very exquisite and also unique in their own special way, even though most of them are relayed and generic and most towns have the same people most of the time. But take it for what it is. I know it's not fully 3D, if not at all, but who gives a crap? Take it for what it is again and just shut up. The replayability is here before, of course, obviously playing both scenarios and the third time to get all the additional swords if you're really into that. And of course, yes, some of the gameplay is a little bit short for most hardcore players out there, but hey, finally for the pros, the swords. Let's face it, guys, if you're here to play this game, you're here for the freaking swords, not just because of the half-naked boobies and the freaking steamy scenes. And that reminds me, I have to do some quiet time after. Yeah, the swords in this game are pretty fantastic. Every sword has its own special unique abilities, of course, which gives you a reason to incentive to obviously upgrade and find new swords out there from bosses and obviously from foraging. Naked pawns. The backtracking through a lot of the game can be boring and of course annoying to a lot of gamers with ADHD, of course, who play FPSs like they're freaking on Ritalin. Aside from that, adding hours to the gameplay for that aspect of backtracking, of course, those sneaky developers stars coming a mile away. The game after both playthroughs felt kinda short, but I'm assuming that maybe a sequel will be produced in the near future that will of course improve on some gameplay time frames. Obviously I can respect the developers having a short time to produce a lot of these games, consistent on the beautiful work they had to work on, so again, I can respect that entirely, but please guys, let's make it longer and add some variety for characters. Which of course brings us to the next topic, the enemies. Yes, the enemies are plenty to kill out there, but a few dozen does get, let's just say, annoying because you're killing the same variety. Same exact design, same everything. A little bit obviously a little bit more harder, but again, you're progressing through the game and you would at least add more variety to this game other than these regenerations of ninjas. Is like, if I wanted to fight the Foot Clan, I'd go play Ninja Turtles 3 or something. Seriously. Overall, I really enjoyed this game, in which to highly tell most Wii players, or playees, don't give up on your systems. Buy this game because, well, you need to show some love for your Wiis anyway. So bust them out and start playing with them right now. Do you like that when I talk about your remote? Oh yeah. From out of your crotches and well armrest, we'll play some of that game for sure. So in closing, with a few lacklusters, this game is a blockbuster game that reminds you that the Wii isn't bad for gaming console after all. Assholes.